Ashutara Shimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitila Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashutara Shimar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitila Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashutara Shimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashutara Shimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashutara Shimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Mahabhagavat Srila Gokshar Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishta Srila Sariranda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopashagunath Shard Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Nama Jai Shri Hari Ras Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Ksheta Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vṛndāvana Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Avishta Bhadati Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Gangā Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Grantharaj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai. Shri Dam Bandhan Leela Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Grantharaj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Happy Adivas of Guru Purnima. Guru Purnima Ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shlakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Nārāyaniti Namine. Namo Om Vishdaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yang Prabrajantam Apeta Kritam Dvaipayano Viraha Kata Juhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravobhinedu Stang Sarvabhuta Hridaya Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskar Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Shrinvatang Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayohya Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhrit Satam Nashta Prayaru Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Loke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tunayamang Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshai Kshiptashtakama Ditaranga Madhe Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Vande Namaste Charanarvindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Let's see who's all there. Dandavat pranams, Yashoda Didi. I'm sorry, I keep on saying your. I don't know who this is though. What's your devotional name? But is it Borja or Borja? I don't know how to say. Borja, right? Rup Manjari Didi, Dandavat pranams, Kishore Prabhu. Happy Adivas of Guru Purnima. Shri Raseshwari Mataji and Nri Hari Prabharani Mataji, Madhavi Didi. Oh, okay, cool. You've been following all the readings. Awesome. That makes I feel very blessed when I have such my mothers and fathers reading with me. Hari Bol, thank you so much, Bhavatarani Mataji and Nri Hari Prabhu. And Dandavad Devi Didi. So, today we're going over, let's just read a summary of what we read in the previous chapter. Bound by love. Hearing the unparalleled affection of Mother Yashoda, Parikshit asked Shukadeva Goswami, what pious activities did Nanda and Yashoda do to achieve perfection in their parental affection? Comparatively, their position is superior to Vasudeva and Devaki, who couldn't enjoy Krishna's childhood pastimes. Shukadeva Goswami replied, Once Drona, the best of the Vasus, Dhara, requested Lord Brahma to permit them to be born on the earth and have the Supreme Lord as their child. Brahma did their request. Thus, Dhara and Drona appeared as Yashoda and Nanda. Subsequently, Krishna and Balaram appeared in Vṛndāvana and increased their pleasure. In fact, Yashoda and Nanda are the eternal parents of Krishna, while Dhara and Drona performed sadhana and merged with them to experience loving affection for Krishna. While Yashoda and Nanda were Nitya Siddhas, or eternally perfect associates of the Lord, Dhara and Drona were Sadhan Siddhas, or those who attained perfection in spiritual practices. To extol the glory of Yashoda's motherly love for Krishna, which was eternal and was not a result of some sadhan, Shukadeva Goswami narrated the amazing pastime called Damodar Lila, the epitome of all the Vatsalya pastimes of Krishna. One day, early in the morning, Yashoda was churning yogurt while singing the childhood activities of her darling child. Krishna then woke up, stopped Yashoda's churning, and sat on her lap when she lovingly started feeding him milk. Suddenly, she heard the sound of boiling milk spilling over in the kitchen. She immediately kept Krishna aside and ran into the kitchen. Krishna became angry and broke a pot, stole the butter, and started feeding it to the monkeys. Upon returning from the kitchen, Yashoda found the broken pot and baby Krishna's lotus footprints escaping the scene. She started searching for Krishna with bittersweet anger. Finding him feeding the monkeys, she came with a stick from behind to teach him a lesson. Krishna, however, ran away in fear while crying. After a long chase, Yashoda finally caught her son. She chastised him and decided to bind him to a wooden grinding mortar. Her ropes, however, kept falling short by 2 fingers despite her joining several together. Seeing his mother's desperate endeavor to serve him, Krishna became merciful and Yashoda could finally bind him. In his bound condition, Kṛṣṇa saw 2 tall Arjuna trees in his backyard. He grinds the grinding mortar between them and caused them to fall down, making a tumultuous sound. These trees, that's we read up to that part where Yashoda bound him. So today we're going to read about the Yamal Arjuna trees, Nalakūvara and Maṇigrīva. Hari Bol Pradyumna Prabhu and Mantra Murti Mataji. Appearance of the Yamala Arjuna trees. And I wrote that we were going to read up to verse 5, but maybe we'll stop shorter just because I started late today. This chapter broke the twin Arjuna trees from which Nalakūvara and Maṇigrīva, the sons of Kuvera, then came out. Nalakūvara and Maṇigrīva were great devotees of Lord Shiva, but because of material opulence, they became so extravagant and senseless that one day they were enjoying naked with girls in a lake and shamelessly walking here and there. Suddenly, Nārada Muni passed by, but they were so maddened by their wealth? Where is it? Yeah, they were so maddened by their wealth and false prestige that even though they saw Nārada Muni present, they remained naked, not even ashamed. In other words, because of opulence and false prestige, they lost their sense of common decency. Of course, it is the nature of the material qualities that when one becomes very much opulent in terms of wealth and a prestigious position, one loses one's sense of etiquette and does not care about anyone, even a sage Nārada Muni. I just had a whole conversation, like a long conversation with a friend, how when sannyasis and brahmacharis get lots of money and position, then it turns really good people into, it makes them, completely changes them. For such bewildered persons, ahankara vimudātma, who especially deride devotees, the proper punishment is to be again stricken with poverty. The Vedic rules and regulations prescribe how to control the false sense of prestige by the practice of yam, niyam, and so on. Na cha damena cha. A poor man can be convinced very easily that the prestige of an opulent position in this material world is temporary, but a rich man cannot. Therefore, he set an example by cursing these 2 persons, Nalakūvara and Maṇigrīva, to become dull and unconscious like trees. This was a fact. But because Kṛṣṇa is always merciful, even though they were punished, they were fortunate enough to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. Therefore, the punishment given by Vaishnavas is not at all punishment. Rather, it is another kind of mercy. By the Devarshi, Nalakūvara and Maṇigrīva became twin artists and remained in the courtyard of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, opportunity to see Kṛṣṇa directly. Lord Kṛṣṇa, by the desire of his devotees, uprooted these Yamal Arjuna trees, and when Nalakūvara and Maṇigrīva were thus delivered by Kṛṣṇa after 100 years of the Devas, their old consciousness revived, and they offered Kṛṣṇa prayers suitable to be offered by demigods. Having thus gotten the opportunity to see Kṛṣṇa face to face, they understood how merciful Nārada Muni was, and therefore they expressed their indebtedness to him. Then, after circumambulating the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa, they departed for their respective abodes. Shirajo vacha katyatang bhagavan etat tayos shapasya karanam yattar vigharhitam karma yena va devarshestama. King Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami, O great and powerful saint, what was the cause of Nalakūvara's and Maṇigrīva's having been cursed by Nārada Muni? What did they do that was so abominable that even Nārada, the great sage, became angry at them? And kindly describe this to me. Shri Shuka Uvacha Rudrasyanucharo bhutva Sudripo dhanadatmajo Kailaso pavane ramye Kinyam madotkato Varunim madiram pitva Madaghurnitalochano Stri jana anughayad bhish Cheratu pushpite vane. Shukadeva, O King Parikshit, because the two sons of Kuvera had been elevated to the association of Lord Shiva, of which they were very much proud, they were allowed to wander in a garden attached to Kaila on the bank of the Mandākinī River. Taking advantage of this, they used to drink a kind of liquor called Varuni. Accompanied by women singing after them, they would wander in that garden of flowers, their eyes always rolling in intoxication. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This verse mentions some of the material advantages afforded to persons associated with or devoted to Lord Shiva. Apart from Lord Shiva, if one is a devotee of any other demigod, one receives some material advantages. Foolish people, therefore, devotees of demigods. This has been pointed out and criticized by Lord Kṛṣṇa in Bhagavad Gita 7.20. Kāmaistaister hrita jnana prapadyantenya devata. Those who are not devotees of Krishna have a taste for women, wine, and so forth, and therefore they have been described as hrita jnana, bereft of sense. The Krishna consciousness movements can very easily point out such foolish persons, for they have indicated in Bhagavad Gita 7.15. They have been indicated in Bhagavad Gita 7.15, where Lord Krishna says, Namam dushkritino mudha prapadyante naradhama mayaya pahrita jnana bhavamashrita. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Anyone who is not a devotee of Krishna and does not surrender to Krishna must be considered Naradhama, lowest of men, and Dushkriti, one who always commits sinful activities. Thus, there is no difficulty in finding out who is a third class or fourth class man, for one's position can be understood by this crucial test. Is he or is he not a devotee of Krishna? So that's how we can test, see if it's a third class or fourth man. Why are devotees of the demigods greater in number than Vaishnavas? The answer is given herein. Vaishnavas are not interested in such fourth-class pleasures as wine and women, nor does Krishna allow them such facilities. Text 4. Anta pravishya gangayam ambho vanarajini chikridar datur yuvati bhir gajav eva karenubhi. Within the waters of the Mandākinī Gangā, crowded with gardens of lotus flowers, the two sons of Kuvera would enjoy with young girls, male elephants enjoying in the water with female elephants. Purport. People generally go to the Ganges to be purified of the effects of sinful life. An example of how foolish persons enter the Ganges to become involved in sinful life. It is not that everyone becomes purified by entering the Ganges. Everything, and material, depends on one's mental condition. And just recently, I put up an article on devotion.com about Shraddha, and yeah, it says the same thing. Everything material and spiritual depends on one's mental condition, or in other words, one's Shraddha, one's beliefs. One's Shraddha, that's deeper than beliefs. And so any activity that you do without Shraddha is useless. It doesn't have any real result. If you don't believe in what you're doing, then yeah, it's all, Shraddha's everything. Yadrichaya chadevarshir bhagavangstatra kaurava apasya narado devo kshibano samabhutata. O Maharikshit, by some auspicious opportunity for the two boys, the great saint Devarshi Narada once appeared there by chance. Intoxicated with rolling eyes, he could understand their situation. Purport. It is said, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastre Koi, Lavamatra Sadhu Sange, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. When he goes, any moment at which he appears is understood to be extremely auspicious. It is also said, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Kṛṣṇa De Pai, Bhakti Lata Bij. According to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Kṛṣṇa. By the mercy of both Kṛṣṇa and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of devotional service. It's Madhya 19:151. Narada appeared in the garden to give the two sons of Kuvera the seed of devotional service, even though they were intoxicated. Saintly persons know how to bestow mercy upon the fallen souls. Tang drishtva vridita devyo vivastra shapa shankita vasangsi paryadhu shigram vivastro naiva guhyako. Upon seeing Narad, the naked young girls of the demigods were very much ashamed. Afraid of being cursed, they covered their bodies with their garments. But the two sons of Kuvera did not do so, and not caring about Narad, they remained naked. 7. To drishtva madiramato Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam suratmajo tayor anugraharthaya shapam dasyan idam jago. Seeing the two sons of the demigods naked and intoxicated by opulence and false prestige, Devarshi Narad, in order to show them special mercy, desired to give them a special curse. Thus he spoke as follows. Purport. Although in the beginning Nārada Muni appeared very angry and cursed them, at the end the two Nalakūvara and Maṇigrīva were able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead Kṛṣṇa face to face. Thus the curse was ultimately auspicious and brilliant. One has to judge the kind of curse Narad placed upon them. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives herein a good example. When a father finds his child deeply asleep, but the child has to take some medicine to cure some disease, the father pinches the son so that the son will get up and take the medicine. In a similar way, Nārada Muni cursed Nalakūvara and Maṇigrīva in order to cure their disease of material blindness. Verse 8. Śrīna uvacha nahyanyo jushato jyan buddhi angsho rajo guna Śrīmadad Śrīmadad abhijatyadir yatra stri dyuttamasava. Nārada Muni said, among all the attractions of material enjoyment, the attraction of riches bewilders one's intents more than having beautiful bodily features, taking birth in an aristocratic family, and being learned. When one is uneducated, falsely puffed up by wealth, the result is that one engages his wealth in enjoying wine, women, and gambling. In this article that I published, that I published on vineofdevotion.com by Srila Chamaraj, he quotes this verse. And there's a big section of it describing how actually poverty is favorable for devotees. Wealth can be a huge obstacle. Yeah, he quotes this one. Wealth is even wealth bewilders intelligence even more than being very beautiful, taking birth in a high-class family, and being learned. Wealth's more bewildering. Purport. Among the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, people are conducted by the lower qualities, namely passion and ignorance, and especially by passion. Conducted by the modes of passion, one becomes more and more involved in material existence. Therefore, human life is meant for subduing the modes of passion and ignorance and advancing in the mode of goodness. Tatrajastamo bhava kamalobha dayaschaye cheta etar anavidham stitang sattve prasiddhati. This is culture. One must subdue the modes of passion and ignorance. In the mode of passion, when one is falsely proud of wealth, one engages his wealth only for three things, namely wine, women, and gambling. We can actually see, especially, that those who have unnecessary riches simply enjoy these three things. In Western civilization, these three things are very prominent because of an unnecessary increase of wealth. Nārada Muni considered all this. He considered all this in the case of Maṇigrīva and Nalakūvara, because he found in them so much pride in the wealth of their father, Kuvera. Sorry, I read that strange. Anyways, doesn't matter. Hanyante pashavo yatra nirdayar ajitatmavi manyam manar imam deham ajaram rityunashvaram. Unable to control rascals who are falsely proud of their riches or their birth in aristocratic families are so cruel that to make perishable bodies, which they think will never grow old or die, they kill poor animals without mercy. Sometimes they kill animals merely to enjoy an excursion. Hunters. Purport. Modes of passion and ignorance increase in human society, giving rise to unnecessary economic development. The result is that people become involved with wine, women, and gambling. Then they maintain big slaughterhouses or occasionally go on pleasure excursions to kill animals, forgetting that however one may try to maintain the body is subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. Such foolish rascals engage in sinful activities one after another. Being dushkritis, they completely forget the existence of the Supreme Controller who is sitting within the core of everyone's heart. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hridesher dunatishtati. That supreme controller is observing every bit of one's activity, and he rewards everyone by giving one a suitable body made by material nature. Brahmayan sarvabhutani yantrarudhani. In this way, sinful persons automatically receive punishments in different ways. The root cause of this punishment, when one unnecessarily accumulates wealth, one becomes more and more degraded, not knowing that his wealth will be finished with his next birth. Nasadu manye yata atmano yam asan apikleshada asadeha. Animal killing is prohibited. Every living entity, of course, has to eat something, jivasya jivanam. But one should be taught what kind of food one should take. Therefore, the Ishupanishad instructs, Tena tyaktena bhunjitaha. One should eat whatever is allotted for human beings. Kṛṣṇa says in Bhagavad Gita 9:26, Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakta prayachati tad aham bhaktipahritam ashnami prayatmana. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. A devotee, therefore, does not eat and acquire slaughterhouses for poor animals. Rather, devotees take prasad of Kṛṣṇa. Tena taktena bhunjitaha. Kṛṣṇa recommends that one give him a patram pushpam polam toyam, a flower, fruit, or water. Animal food is never recommended for human beings. And a human being is recommended to take prasad, remnants of food left by Kṛṣṇa. Yagya shistashinas muchyante sarvakil vishai. If one practices eating prasad, even if there is some little sinful activity involved, one becomes free from the results of sinful acts. 10. Deva Sangitamapyante Kremi. One second, got a message. Just seeing if this is about the connection. No. Oh, that's a good question, Manjari Didi, but you stepped away. Anyways, we can come back to this afterwards. Deva Sangitamapyante Kremi Ved Bhasma Sangitam Bhutadhruk Tatkrite Svartang King Veda Nirayo Yata. While living, one may be proud of one's body, thinking oneself a very big man, a minister, president, or even a demigod. But whatever one may be, after death, this body will turn into stool or into ashes. If one kills poor animals to satisfy the temporary whims of this body, one does not know that he will suffer in his next birth, for such a sinful miscreant must go to hell and the results of his actions. Purport. In this verse, the three words krimi vid bhasma are significant. After death, the body may become krimi, which means worms. For it is disposed of without cremation, it may be eaten by worms, or else it may be eaten by animals like hogs and vultures, and ants turned into stool. Those more civilized burn the dead body, and thus it becomes ashes, bhasma sangitam. Yet, although the body will be turned into worms, stool, or ashes, foolish persons maintain it, commit many sinful activities. This is certainly regrettable. The human form of body is meant for jiva tattva jigyasa, enlightenment and knowledge and of values. Therefore, sorry, I think I need to stand up. Enlightenment and knowledge of spiritual values. Therefore, one must seek shelter in spiritual master. Tasmar gurung prapadeta. One must approach a guru. Who is a guru? Shabde pare chanishnatam. That's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 11:321. A guru is one who has full transcendental knowledge. Unless one approaches a spiritual master, one remains in ignorance. Acharyavan Purusho Vedha. That's from Chandogya Upanishad 6:14-2. One has full knowledge about life when one is Acharyavan, told by the Acharya. But when one is conducted by Rajagun and Tamagun, one does not care about anything. Instead, one acts like an ordinary foolish animal, risking his life, mrityu samsara vartmani, and therefore continuing to go through suffering after suffering. Na te vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnum. At Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 7:531. Such a foolish person does not need to elevate himself in this body. Instead, he indulges in sinful activities and goes deeper and deeper into hellish life. Text 11. One second. I got up at 3:20 this morning, so a bit out of it. One second. What's the comment? Okay. Deha kim anadatu swam nishektu maturevacha matu pitur babalina uragneshuno piva. While alive, does this body belong to its employer, to the self, to the father, the mother, or the mother's father? Does it belong to who takes it away by force, to the slave master who purchases, to the sons who burn fire? Or, if the body is not burned, does it belong to the dogs that eat it? Among the many possible claimants, who is the rightful claimant? Not to ascertain this, but instead to make body by sinful activities is not good. Evam sadharanam deham avyakta prabhavapyayam ko vidvan atmasatritva hanti jantun rite sata. This body, after all, is produced by the unmanifest nature and again annihilated and merged in the natural elements. Therefore, it is the common property of everyone. Under the circumstances, who but a rascal claims this property as his own, and while maintaining it, commits such sinful activities as killing animals just to satisfy his whims? Unless one is a rascal, one cannot commit such sinful activities. I wonder why Nārada keeps on mentioning killing animals to Nalakūvara and Maṇigrīva. I wonder if they were meat eaters or something. That's the reason. Purport. Atheists in the existence of the soul. Nonetheless, unless one is very cruel, why would one kill animals unnecessarily? The body is a manifestation of a combination of matter. In the beginning, it was nothing. But by a combination of matter, it has come into existence. Then again, when the combination is dismantled, the body will no longer exist. In the beginning it was nothing, and in the end it will be nothing. Why then should one commit sinful activities when it is manifested? It is not possible for anyone to do this unless he is rascal number one. Text 12. Asata Śrīmad-Dandasya Daridyam Paramanjanam Atmopamyena Bhutani Paramikshate. Atheistic fools and rascals who are very much proud of wealth fail to see things as they are. Therefore, returning them to poverty is the proper ointment for their eyes, so that they make things as they are. At least a poverty-stricken man can realize how painful poverty is, for he will not want others to be in a painful condition like his own. Purport. Even today, if a man who is formerly poverty-stricken gets money, he is inclined to utilize his money to perform many philanthropic activities, like opening schools for uneducated men and hospitals for the diseased. In this connection, there is an instructive story called Punar Mushiko Bhava. Again, become a mouse. A mouse was very much harassed by a cat, and therefore the mouse approached a saintly person to request to become a cat. When the mouse became a cat, he was harassed by a dog. And then when he became a dog, he was harassed by a tiger. But when he became a tiger, he stared at the saintly person, and when the saintly person asked him, "What do you want?" the tiger said, "I want to eat you." Then the saintly person cursed him, saying, "May you again become a mouse." A similar thing is going on all over the universe. One is going up and down, sometimes becoming a mouse, sometimes a tiger, and so on. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Brahmanda Brahmitona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Kṛṣṇa Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij." The living entities are promoted and degraded by the laws of nature. But if one is very, very fortunate, by association with saintly persons, he gets the seed of devotional service and his life becomes successful. Nārada Muni wanted to bring Nalakūvara and Maṇigrīva to the platform of devotional service through poverty, and thus he cursed him. Such is the mercy of a Vaishnava. Unless one is brought to the Vaishnava platform, one cannot be a good man. Harav abhaktasya kuto maharguna. That's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 5:18-12. An Vaishnav never becomes a good man, however severely he is punished. Yata kantaka vidhango jantorne chatitang vyatam jiva samyam gato lingar na tata vidha kantaka. By seeing their faces, one whose body has been pricked by pins can understand the pain of others who are pinpricked. Realizing that this pain is the same for everyone, he does not want others to suffer in this way. But one who has never been pricked by pins cannot understand this pain. Purport. There is a saying, "The happiness of wealth is enjoyable by a person who has tasted the distress of poverty." There is also another common saying, "Vandya ki bhujive prasava vedana." A woman who has not given birth to a child cannot understand the pain of childbirth. Unless one comes to the platform of actual experience, one cannot realize what is pain and what is happiness in this material world. The laws of nature act accordingly. If one has killed an animal, one must himself be killed by that same animal. This is called manksha. Mam means me, and sa means he. As I am eating an animal, that animal will have an opportunity to eat me. In every state, therefore, it is ordinarily the custom that if a person commits murder, he is hanged. 15. Daridro nirahang stambo mukta sarva madar iha kritchram yadrichayapnoti tadhi tasya parang tapa. A poverty-stricken man must automatically undergo austerities and penances because he does not have the wealth to possess anything. Thus his false prestige is vanquished. Always in need of food, shelter, and clothing, he must be satisfied with what is obtained by the mercy of providence. Undergoing such compulsory austerities is good for him, because this purifies him and completely frees him from false ego. Purport. A saintly person voluntarily accepts a state of poverty just to for material false prestige. Many great kings left their princely standard of living and went to the forest to practice austerity according to Vedic culture, just to become purified. But if one who cannot voluntarily accept such austerity is put into a situation of poverty, he automatically must practice austerity. Like Krishna, Nrsimhadev forcibly took away my phone, and now he's joking. Austerity is good for everyone because it frees one from material conditions. Therefore, if one is very much proud of his material position, putting him into poverty is the best way to rectify his foolishness. Daridra dosha guna rashi nashi. When a person is poverty-stricken, naturally his false pride and aristocracy, wealth, education, and beauty is smashed. Thus corrected, he is in the right position for liberation. 16. Nityam shut kshama dehasya daridrasya nakankshina indriyanyanu sushyanti hingsapi vinivartate. Always hungry, longing for sufficient food, a poverty-stricken man gradually becomes weaker and weaker. Having no extra potency, his senses are automatically pacified. A poverty-stricken man, therefore, is unable to perform harmful, envious activities. In other words, such a man automatically gains the results of the austerities and penances adopted voluntarily by saintly persons. Purport. According to the opinion of experienced medical practitioners, diabetes is a result of voracious eating, and tuberculosis is a disease of undereating. We should desire neither to be diabetic nor to be tubercular. Yavad artha prayojanam. We should eat frugally and keep the body fit for advancing in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, as recommended elsewhere in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1-10. Kamasya nendrir pritir labho jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jigyasa narto yash cheha karma bhi. The real business of human life is to keep oneself fit for advancement in spiritual realization. Human life is not meant for making the senses unnecessarily strong so that one suffers from disease and one increases in an envious fighting spirit. In this age of Kali, however, human civilization is so misled that people are unnecessarily increasing in economic development, and as a result, they are opening more and more slaughterhouses, liquor shops, and brothels. In this way, the whole civilization is being spoiled. Daridrasyaiva yujyante sadhava samadarshina sarbhikshinotitam tarsham tatta arad vishuddhati. Saintly persons may freely associate with those who are poverty-stricken, but not with those who are rich. A poverty-stricken man, by association with saintly persons, very soon becomes uninterested in material desires, and the dirty things within the core of his heart are cleansed away. Purport. It is said, Mahar vichalanang nrinam grihinam dina chetasam. That's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10.8.4. The only business of a saintly person, or a sannyasi, a person in the renounced order, is to preach Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Oh, this is such a perfect purport. Wait 1 second, guys. I just want to... Sorry, I need to do this now because otherwise I will just not do it. I've been collecting ideas for things to make videos on. Where does that go? Huh, I don't see. Oh, there it is. Anyways, I'll just save it like that. Okay. And then I just want to get this verse 17. Thank you for waiting for me, guys. I'm you know, like so many times I've come up with ideas of things to make videos on and write articles on, and then I forget them. And so now I'm trying to, as soon as a thought comes in my head, I try to, there, okay. Saintly persons may freely associate with those who are poverty-stricken, but not with those who are rich. A poverty-stricken man, by association with saintly persons, very soon becomes uninterested in material desires, and the dirty things within the core of his heart are cleansed away. Wait, I already read this, right? Yes, I did. Sorry, guys. Anyways, let's just reread that. The only business of a saintly person or sannyasi, a person in the renounced order, is to preach Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Sadhus, saintly persons, want to preach to both the poor and the rich, but the poor take more advantage of sadhus' preaching than the rich do. A poor man receives sadhus very quickly, offers them obeisances, and tries to take advantage of their presence, whereas a rich man keeps a big greyhound dog at his door so that no one can enter his house. He posts a sign saying, "Beware of dog," and avoids the association of saintly persons, whereas a poor man keeps his door open for them and thus benefits by their association more than a rich man does. Because Nārada Muni in his life was the poverty-stricken son of a maidservant, he got the association of saintly persons and later became the exalted Nārada Muni. This was his actual experience. Therefore, he is now comparing the position of a poor man with that of a rich man. Satang prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana kata tarjanad ashvapavargavartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukurmashyati. If one gets the advantage of association with saintly persons, by their instructions one becomes more and more purified of material desires. Material life means that one forgets Krishna and that one's desires for sense gratification. But if one receives the advantage of instructions from saint persons and forgets the importance of material desire, one is automatically purified. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam. That's Shikshashtakam 1. Unless the core of a materialistic person's heart is purified, he can get rid of the pangs of bhava mahadavagni, the blazing fire of material existence. Oh, I think this is a famous verse. I don't know. Let's see. Sadhunam samachittanam mukunda nashinam upeksha kim dhar asadbhir asarashrayai. Saintly persons, sadhus, think of Krishna 24 hours a day. They have no other interest. Why should people neglect the association of such exalted spiritual personalities and try to associate with materialists, taking shelter of non-devotees, most of whom are proud and rich? Purport. A sadhu is one who is engaged in devotional service unto the Lord without deviation. Bhajate mam ananya bhak. Titikshva karunika suhrida sarvadehinam ajata shatrava shanta sadhava sadhubhushana. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. That's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 3:25-21. A sadhu is suhrida sarvadehinam. He is the friend of everyone. Why then should the rich, instead of associating with sadhus, waste their valuable time in association with other rich men who are averse to spiritual life. Both the poor man and the rich man can take advantage of the Krishna consciousness movement, and here it is advised that everyone do so. There is no profit in avoiding the association of the members of the Krishna consciousness movement. Narottam Das Thakur has said, Sat Sangha Chari Koino Asate Vilas Te Karane Lagilo Je Karma Banta Phasa. If we give up the association of sadhus, saintly persons engaged in Krishna consciousness, and associate with persons seeking sense gratification and accumulating wealth for this purpose, our life is spoiled. The word asat refers to an avaishnav, one who is not a devotee of Krishna, and sat refers to a Vaishnav, Krishna's devotee. One should always seek the association of Vaishnavas and not spoil one's life by mixing with Avaishnavas. In Bhagavad Gita 7.15, the distinction between Vaishnav and Avaishnav is enunciated. Namam dushkritino mudha prapadante naradhama mayaya pagyana asuram bhavamashrita. Anyone who is not surrendered to Krishna is a most sinful person, a dushkriti, a rascal, a mudha, and the lowest of men, naradhama. Therefore, one should not avoid the association of Vaishnavas, which is now available all over the world in the form of the Krishna consciousness movement. Tang ahang matayor madhya varunya Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam tamo madham harishyami stranayor ajitatmano. Therefore, since these two persons drunk with the liquor named Varuni or Madhvi and unable to control their senses have been blinded by the pride of celestial opulence and have become attached to women, I shall relieve them of their false prestige. Purport. When a sadhu chastises or punishes someone, he does not do so for revenge. Maharaj Parikshit had inquired why Nārada Muni was subject to such a spirit of revenge, tama. But this was not tama for Nārada Muni, in full knowledge of what was for the good of the two brothers. He wisely thought of how to cure them. Vaishnavas are good physicians. They know how to protect a person from material disease. Thus, they are never in tamagun. Sa gunan samititaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. It's Bhagavad Gita 14:26. Vaishnavas are always situated on the transcendental platform, the Brahman platform. They cannot be subject to mistakes or the influence of the modes of material nature. Whatever they do, after full consideration, is meant just to lead everyone back home, back to Godhead. So I'm going a bit over time today, guys. I want to stop at a good spot. Yad imo lokapalasya putro bhutva tamapluto na vivasasam atmanam vijanita sudurmado ator stavaratam syatang naivamita puna smritisyan mat prasadena tatrapi mar anugrahat vasudevasya sannidhyam labdva divya sharachate vritte svarlokatang bhuyo labdha bhakti bhavishyata. These two young men, Nalakūvara and Maṇigrīva, are by fortune the sons of the great demigod Kuvera. But because of false prestige and madness after drinking liquor, they are so fallen that they are naked, but cannot understand that they are. Therefore, because they are living like trees, for trees are naked, but are not conscious, these two young men should receive the bodies of trees. This will be the proper punishment. Nevertheless, after they become trees and until they are released, by my mercy, They will have remembrance of their past sinful activities. Moreover, by my special favor, after the expiry of 100 years by the measurement of the demigods, they will be able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vāsudev, face to face, and thus revive their real position as devotees. A tree has no consciousness. When cut, it feels no pain. But Nārada Muni wanted the consciousness of Nalakūvara and Maṇigrīva to continue, so that even after being released from the life of trees, they would not forget the circumstances under which they had been punished. Therefore, to bestow upon them special favor, Nārada Muni arranged things in such a way that after being released, they would be able to see Kṛṣṇa in Vṛndāvana and thus revive their dormant bhakti. Each day of the demigod upper planetary system equals 6 months of our measurement. Although the demigods in the upper planetary system are attached to material enjoyment, they are all devotees, and therefore they are called demigods. There are 2 kinds of persons, namely the devas and the asuras. The asuras forget their relationship with Kṛṣṇa, asuram bhavam ashrita, whereas the devas do not forget. Dvau bhutva sargo lokesmin daiva asura eva cha Vishnu bhakta smrito daiva asurastar viparyaya. The distinction between a pure devotee and a karma mishra devotee is this. A pure devotee does not desire anything for material enjoyment, whereas a mixed devotee becomes a devotee to become a first-class enjoyer of this material world. One who is in direct touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service remains pure, uncontaminated by material desires. Anyabhilashita shunyam. One second. This thing keeps on happening. Whenever this verse comes up, it messes up everything else. Let me just, what verse are we on? Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Okay. Sorry guys, 1 second. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10. I could have just read that all anyways, but see, it just gave this little part, but then they added in this whole section that's not there. Okay. By karma mishra bhakti, one is elevated to the celestial kingdom. By jnana mishra bhakti, one is able to merge in the Brahman effulgence. And by yoga mishra bhakti, one is able to realize the omnipotency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But pure bhakti does not depend on karma, jnana, or yoga, for it simply consists of loving affairs. The liberation of the bhakta, therefore, which is called not just mukti, but mukti, it surpasses the 5 other kinds of liberation, sayuja, sarupya, saloka, shashti, and samipya. A pure devotee always engages in pure service, anena Kṛṣṇānuṣīlanam bhaktiruttama. Taking birth into a system as a demigod is a chance to become further purified devotee and go back home, back to Godhead. Nārada Muni indirectly gave Maṇigrīva and Nalakūvara the greatest opportunity by his so-called curse. Shishuka evam uktva sadevarshir gato narayanashramam Nalakūvara Maṇigrīva asatur yamalarjuno. Shukadeva Goswami continued, having thus spoken, the great saint Devarshi Narad returned to his ashram known as Narayan Ashram, and Nalakūvara and Maṇigrīva became twin Arjuna trees. Purport. Arjuna trees are still found in many forests, and their skin is used by cardiologists to prepare medicine for heart trouble. This means that even though they are trees, They are disturbed when skinned for medical science. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam muktasya satyam kartum vacho hari jagama shanakai satra yatrastam Arjuna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Kṛṣṇa, to fulfill the truthfulness of the words of the greatest devotee Nārada, slowly went to that spot where the twin Arjuna trees were standing. Devarshir me priyatamo yadimo danadatmajo tattata sadayishyami yargitam tan mahatmana. Although these two young men are the sons of the very rich Kuvera, and I have nothing to do with them, Devarshi Nārada is my very dear and affectionate devotee, and therefore, because he wanted me to come face to face with them, I must do so for their deliverance. Purport. And we're ending with this purport here. Nalakūvara and Maṇigrīva actually had nothing to do with devotional service or seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, for this is not an ordinary opportunity. It is not that because one is very rich or learned or was born in an aristocratic family, one will be able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. This is impossible. But in this case, because Muni desired that Nalakūvara and Maṇigrīva see Vasudeva face to face, the Supreme Personality of Godhead wanted to fulfill the words of his very dear devotee, Nārada Muni. If one seeks the favor of a devotee instead of directly asking favors from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is very easily successful. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has therefore recommended Vaishnava Thakur Tomar Kukur Bhuliya Jana Homore. This should be Bhuliya Jana Homore. Kṛṣṇa se tomar Kṛṣṇa dite paro. One should desire to become like a dog and strictly following a devotee. Kṛṣṇa is in the hands of a devotee, a durlabham atma bhakto. Thus, without the favor of a devotee, one cannot directly approach Kṛṣṇa. What to speak of engaging in his service? Narottam Das Thakur therefore sings, Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nistar Payeche Keba. Unless one becomes a servant of a pure devotee, one cannot be delivered from the material condition of life. In our Gaudiya Vaishnava society, following in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami, our first business is to seek shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, Adau Guru Vashraya. All right, that's our reading for today. So now we're going to see what happens. We're leaving on a cliffhanger here. Having thus spoken, Kṛṣṇa soon entered in between the... Okay, let's read this one verse also. Etyantare narjunayo Kṛṣṇastu yamayor yayo atma nirvesha matrena tiryagatam alukhalam. Having thus spoken, Kṛṣṇa soon entered between the two Arjuna trees, and thus the big mortar to which he was bound turned crosswise and stuck between them. So we'll hear what happens next tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtara Shata Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Srila Gokshwaras Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shard Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Nama Chai Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड यमुना गंगा तुलसी भक्ति देवी की जाय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जाय। Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Praya Keshavascha Krishna Bhakti Paradevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha Pancha Kalpataru Bhyashta Kripa Sindhu Jaya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams. And yeah, I went so far overtime today because tomorrow is Guru Purnima and also disappearance day of Sanatana Goswami. And so I wanted to read, I didn't want to have a long Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam reading tomorrow so that we can have time to read about that day, those two special, festivals. All right, so see you tomorrow. Dandavat pranams, everybody.